Hi everyone, welcome back to this channel. We are going to be discussing today how we made the move from London, England to Slovakia, and in particular to a remote rural village near the Hungarian borders, which is kind of weird because I'm trying to learn Slovak. But anyway, there's more detail there for another video. But still, today's video is all going to be about the whole process of how we moved, what we got up to, how we dealt with certain issues that we faced.
You may be wondering what was the very first thing we did, and I'm trying to recall it. I believe it was Ashley's residency. We had to sort that out first.
Slovakia also have their own residency permit, which kind of works similarly to other countries. I'm not sure how it works Europe-wide, but usually you get like a kind of temporary residency for 5 years. And then at the end of 5 years, you get to apply to be a permanent resident.
Yeah.
And then after being a permanent resident, you could apply to be a citizen, I guess, but I'm probably not going to go that far. Permanent residency is about as far as I'm going to go. So basically, Slovakia, as far as I know, does not allow dual citizenship. So that is one of my main reasons why I'll be going for the permanent residency and not applying after that to be a citizen of Slovakia, because I'm already a dual citizen, both of the UK and Trinidad, where my mother's from. So I cannot apply for a third citizenship. So even if I wanted to be a citizen of Slovakia, it wouldn't happen, both due to Slovakia's lack of dual citizenship, recognizing dual citizenship, and the fact that I already have two citizenships, So yeah, that's the reason why I'm going this route with the permanent residency. And of course, it's a little bit easier because, of course, I'm married to a Slovak, which really helps. We went through the typical process of applying for the residency card. And we're going to be talking about that and kind of how we did it and, whether there were any kind of issues along the way. So, obviously, me not knowing Slovak, or at least enough Slovak to be able to function and read forms and all that, because all the forms were in Slovak. I couldn't handle a single thing. It was B here who had to handle everything for me in terms of admin and all that kind of stuff. Of course, I got all my documents together, and we can talk about what documents we needed and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of the actual process of getting started and what forms B had to fill in, I'm sure she'll be able to talk to you about that kind of stuff.
We had to start preparing for the interview, and the first step was to actually fill in a form online on what they call cudzinecká policia, which is like foreign police department.
I think it probably all comes under Department of Immigration or something.
Maybe Department of Immigration in the UK, but they call it differently here. So the residency card is very similar to the ID card that Slovaks possess or need to have in order to function in a country legally. When Ashley got his residency card sorted out and it arrived, we saw how similar it was to the Slovak ID card, so there was a bit of similarity.
And that residency card does function as my ID card.
Yes.
While I'm in Slovakia anyway.
The first thing we had to do is go to their website, I'll put it in the comments below, and actually fill in a form which gave you an option to choose a date from their calendar to have his first interview. So we did that. We applied whilst we were still in the UK, and then we flew to Slovakia to see my family, but at the same time do the interview in our nearest kind of foreign
Office
police
kind of
or
thing,
foreign
yeah.
office department, which was in Michalovce, because we are sort of near the eastern side of Slovakia, and that was the nearest department. And the interview went very smoothly. They're very quick and efficient. We didn't have to wait a very long time to be seen. And they actually took pictures of Ashley. They asked him to bring the following documents. One of them was his bank statement to prove that he is working, because he's self-employed in the UK. So all he needed to show is his bank statement to show that he's able to support himself whilst he's in Slovakia. And the other document he needed was a police certificate. Now, this is where we went wrong.
Yeah, we got confused with this one.
And we got confused about the type of form that Slovak call police certificate. There's two types in England. One is called a DBS, right?
Yeah.
And what does the DBS do? Do you want to explain?
The DBS, which stands for Disclosure and Barring Service, what that does is that gives you a record of your basically it kind of lays out your criminal record on a sheet, but this is only for domestic purposes. This is for domestic jobs like teaching in schools or things like that. And it is not applicable to immigration, going to a foreign country to live there. So the DBS is primarily just for the UK, and what we had to do instead was get a certificate from I think it's ICPO, is it?
Yeah.
ICPO, which is an international certificate, which is applicable to for immigration purposes, and this kind of contains the same information but in a more detailed kind of format.
So this is where we went wrong. We first requested a DBS and paid for it in the UK, and it came through, and we took it with us to Slovakia to that interview. Unfortunately, when we had the interview and we presented at DBS, the police certificate, which is the domestic one, only valid within the UK, the person who interviewed us and took all the photocopies of all the forms couldn't really tell that this was an incorrect form. They took all the documents, and unfortunately we found out maybe a week later when they emailed us that they couldn't process the application because his police certificate is not the correct type, and we had to reapply and get the right certificate, and come back again and deliver it physically to them, and then they'll be able to grant your 5-year residency. So this was probably the biggest hurdle, because we just didn't know, and we had no one to advise us, and I guess we didn't really investigate it too much or for too long. We just assumed it was the domestic one, but unfortunately it wasn't. So probably that was the most annoying thing, or the most time consuming thing. So other than your police certificate and your bank statement, you also had to supply your birth certificate, your passport, your parents.
And these were the originals, weren't they?
Yeah, and your parents' birth certificate as well.
Yeah. There was a lot of documents.
Yeah, a lot of documents. On top of that, because I'm his spouse and he's applying for this residency through me, I also had to supply things like, obviously, my birth certificate, my ID, my passport, also a certificate of residency because I'm still a Slovak resident. I had to go to a special department within a town where I was born. In Slovakia, they call it matrika. And I had to go there to request this residency certificate, which they granted immediately. Just I probably paid about 10 euros or 15 euros to get it done. It was very quick. And on top of that, we also had to bring our marriage certificate because we actually got married in Slovakia. So again, I had to request it from the same place where I got my residency certificate to show that I'm a Slovak. I was born in a specific town, and I am now inviting my husband to live here in our country. So this was pretty much what we needed to bring to the first interview. In fact, there wasn't really a second interview. The reason why I'm saying first interview is because we did return the second time with the right police certificate. So we had to go and see someone again. That wasn't really an interview. They just obviously asked for the correct document and then they filed it there in front of us. It was very smooth, very straightforward. We actually got there with the correct police certificate on a Friday, straight from the airport, and on Monday we had an email to say that they granted him the permanent residency and they sent the ID straight away. I would say if you are thinking of coming either with your spouse and you are not working, say you're from England or other parts of the world, then I guess what you can consider is either look for a job beforehand and get your new employer to send a letter or your contract to prove that you'll be working for that company. For Ashley, because he's always been self-employed, all he needed is his self-employed certificate as well as his bank statement, his work bank statement, to show that he's got money coming in. But if you're not working and you're thinking of moving to Slovakia and then look for a job, there's a couple of ways you can go about it. First of all, if your wife or your husband is working, then they can write a letter. We call it čestné vyhlásenie, but in England it's sort of, they call it affidavit, where you go to notary public, and then you get them to sign and put a stamp to say that you wrote this letter and you vouch for this person, so, and that you would take care of this person in your country. If your spouse is not working and both of you are unemployed, or you're just single and you're looking to come to Slovakia and live in Slovakia, you can get a friend, if you've got someone, a relative or friend or somebody related to you or a friend who you've known for a while, to again write that čestné vyhlásenie or affidavit to say that they will take care of you for the time being, and of course it gives you that freedom to look for a job and have your interviews, and once you have a job you can then sustain yourself here. So that's really it. I think it was fairly straightforward, and in terms of other things, for example, health insurance, that's way more complicated. I'm still dealing with it as self-employed. We sort of are still not able to have like a permanent health insurance like Slovaks would, but because it's going through the UK authorities and they have to approve that we are truly outside of the UK, but we are self-employed within the UK and work with the UK clients, they have to issue what they call S1 certificates. They used to be called S1. Apparently now they merged it. So it's now S1 and A1 certificate. And the A1 certificate is the one that, you know, proves that you are self-employed in another country. Now the A1 and S1, which used to be the former health insurance certificate, now they merged together, and all you need to do, as of last year, July, I believe, last year, 2024, all you need to do is apply for the A1 certificate, and complete quite a long form and explain your situation, that you are self-employed, in the UK but living in Slovakia temporarily. And then this is the hardest part, is the fact that you have to wait for months for this certificate to even be issued, which involves many phone calls back and forth, and reminding them and asking them what's happening, what's the status of your application. And the worst bit about it is that they usually just give it to you for 1 year. So that means whilst you're in Slovakia, the national healthcare in England is covering the cost of your healthcare whilst you're in Slovakia. Like I said, they give you probably a certificate for 1 year, but it takes about 6 months to process it. So by the time you get it, you only have 6 months left on the certificate. So it's an absolute joke. So this is why I'm battling. My one just expired end of last year, end of December. So I'm still waiting for my renewal. And apparently renewals don't take as long to process, but I'm still waiting. And I applied in October, and apparently I didn't apply for the right form, so I had to call back and forth and find out that I had to fill in or complete a completely different renewal form. So it's a bit messy. I think England is still not sure how to deal with the health insurance part for those who are working or living abroad, but paying their taxes, all their contributions in England. So it's this part is probably the most frustrating and the messiest. But once you get the certificate, this S1, or now they call it A1, sometimes they call it overseas certificates as well. So once you have that certificate, you take it to the health insurance place in the nearest town, and you take your ID and proof of address, your ID, your passport, and your maybe like a bill that you have on your name, for example, like a phone bill, and the health insurance can check that you're legitimately staying in the country, and they issue this healthcare card for you to use when you go to the doctors, if you just go and see your GP, or if you need to go to A&E or any hospital departments, you take that card with you, just like the locals do here, and then you're going to be seen, and the UK will be covering all the costs whilst you're self-employed or working for any UK company whilst living in Slovakia. And now let's talk about what it took for us to transport all the things from England all the way to Slovakia, all our belongings and possessions, the things that we wanted to move and take with us. That was quite frustrating as well, actually.
Yeah.
Because of Brexit. So do you want to talk about that a little?
Yeah, we got in touch with a shipping company called Trago.
Trago, yeah.
Yeah, they're really good, by the way. They were going to organize the whole kind of shipping thing.
Well, first of all, they gave us an estimate. We had to sort of show how many, we had to take pictures of all the goods that we wanted to take back to Slovakia, and sort of put them you know, sort of gather them together so that they can see how much space it would take to ship it, and then they gave us a rough estimate. We had to weigh everything. It was they were quite detailed, but I understood later why they were so specific about size and making sure that all the serial numbers of our equipment and electrical stuff is actually noted on the form, and the weight of everything and the size of everything, and so based on that information, they gave us an estimate. We managed to sort of wrap everything up, and then they collected it, and it was very smooth. They arrived to Slovakia within a couple of days or so. So that wasn't an issue, but
didn't we have to go through like some extra form filling and all that kind of stuff from Brexit?
yeah, when it arrived, I had to go to customs to basically collect my stuff.
Yeah, we basically had to verify that everything that we had was like ours.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had to wait like 4 or 5 hours
Yeah.
before they approved everything, and they had to check every single detail, and then they found out that I included food and toiletries,
which isn't allowed.
apparently wasn't allowed, and I had so much of it in the house, and I didn't want to throw it away, and there were things that we really, you know, like and enjoy eating. So I wanted to take it all with me, but they were really, really gracious, and they ended up saying, they just waved as Slovaks do and just let her go, because I had to change the form so many times, because apparently I added goods or things that I wasn't supposed to ship. So each time they found something, I had to redo the form, because that's the form that they keep. And if they get audited and they find out that, you know, the authorities find out that they allowed me to keep certain things or bring certain things to the country, they would be in trouble. So so that was so frustrating, and that's why it took about 4 or 5 hours to get it right, to have everything perfectly written out on their forms, all the details of every single thing I transported, and then work out the kilos, and it was a headache. But they ended up advising me how to remove certain goods and then just make up the kilos in other goods that were on the form, and they were just really nice, but it was very frustrating. So I guess that was the next bit that, you know, was really unexpected. And so if you're thinking of transporting a lot of things from England, or especially England because of Brexit, remember you're gonna have to pay not only for shipping but also for customs and lots of other hidden sort of costs, which wasn't the case when England was part of the EU. You know, you could just freely transport anything at any point, and you didn't have to declare anything. So if you're thinking of moving all your possessions, be careful. It can be very costly and a little bit complex as well, with all the forms and just doing the right thing. And so, you know, it's going to be frustrating, that's all.
And try not to carry food.
Yeah, try not to carry food or toiletries and that kind of thing.
Anything you need in terms of food, like, because basically we follow kind of like low carb, sort of keto diet. And we thought that we would not be able to find the kind of stuff that we buy, you know, the raw ingredients that we use to make our food and stuff. We thought, you know, we wouldn't be able to find any of that here. But imagine our surprise when we did actually realize that there are loads of companies like Jim Beam, like
Grizzly,
Lowcarb.sk, the Swedish low carb company, Grizzly, which I think is a Czech company.
Keto something, you know, there's loads of companies.
There are loads of them now. So if you're following like
low carb diet.
yeah, specific
I guess.
diets or like low carb diets or like even like for the lactose intolerant, which I recently found out I am. Even for the lactose intolerant, they got a better selection of lacto-free stuff here than they do in the UK.
Yeah, 100%.
And that is not a lie. So if you're worried about not having food, like not having your food options from the UK, trust me, the situation has probably changed a lot
Yeah.
in like maybe the last decade or so. I don't know. I don't know how long it was since they started catering to these sorts of alternative diets and alternative dietary requirements, all that kind of stuff. But the situation is very kind of free now, and you don't need to carry food from the UK because
Please don't.
everything you could possibly need is here.
Yeah. So if you don't want the aggravation and there is a possibility also that they'll confiscate it and they throw it away. And I spent like hundreds of pounds on food, so it would have been heartbreaking. So they were just super sweet and they understood my position and they could see that I genuinely didn't know. So they let me go, which was great. So
they had mercy.
They had mercy on me. They had mercy on their Slovak citizen.
But to be fair, we were carrying a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because we work as musicians, we have like equipment, instruments, all that kind of stuff. It was a pain to wrap everything, transport it, make sure that everything was okay with Trago.
But that wasn't an issue, transporting equipment. So if you're thinking of that, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, the issue wasn't really getting out of the UK, it was coming in to Slovakia.
From the UK.
From the UK.
So that was quite big. But yeah, if you're thinking of transporting equipment, electrical stuff, by all means do that. It's totally worth it. Even furnitures and that kind of thing, you wouldn't have any issues. Just make sure you write the serial number of each appliance or electrical product.
Yeah, do make sure you keep track of your serial numbers. Really important.
Yeah, they will be checking that.
You do need to write them on your shipping forms and stuff.
They checked Ashley's drum kit, electric drum kit, his speakers, and just things like that. They wanted to see everything, even our coffee machine. They had to see the serial number. So just watch out, but it's not a big deal as long as you write it down. But food and toiletries, please don't transport it. Just get it here. And and that was probably the second biggest hurdle, the transportation. But otherwise, once they let me go, the goods arrived safely and we put everything together and in no time we settled in our new home. So it was very smooth after that. So I hope this was helpful. If you've got any questions about the process of moving from the UK, for example, or any other country to Slovakia, and you think we haven't covered something, which probably is the case, feel free to write it in the comments. We'll be happy to respond to you. It really isn't that difficult to sort things out, as long as you know which forms to fill in and what order to kind of progress in, If you're a foreigner and you're thinking of moving to Slovakia, definitely start with your 5-year residency. Sort that out first, either through your employer or if you're self-employed or unemployed, then get help from your friend who might be already living in Slovakia or a relative.
Bear in mind, if you are unemployed, it's better. I would say it's better generally to have a job lined up before you come. But if you are unemployed and have savings, then you will have to actually prove that you have a certain amount of money equivalent to, I think it was 2,500 euros in your bank account.
Yes.
That's the reason why they needed my bank statement, because they wanted to see whether I was able to take care of myself without needing help from the state. Okay, so that's really important that you have savings at least equivalent to 2,500 euros, so that you could at least take care of yourself while you get yourself kind of on your feet in this country.
Okay, so we hope this was helpful, and we look forward to seeing you next time. And feel free to write in the comments if you've got any specific topics in mind that you would like us to cover, or any questions about just our journey or who we are, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Cool.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.